Looking to find harmony and work-life balance? Join Coach Annajo as she shares practical strategies, empowering mindsets, and inspiring stories to live the life you want to lead on AnnaJoTalks, Work Life for Badasses. Now, here's your host, Coach Annajo.
Welcome everyone to another episode of AnnaJoTalks, Work Life for Badasses. I'm Coach Annajo, and I'm here to challenge the myth of balance and find real harmony in modern life. Today's episode, I have a special guest, one amazing woman, mom, entrepreneur, speaker, and a true friend from my first times ever from entrepreneurship. A true badass with amazing stories to share with you. Liz Caruso, welcome. Hey, how are you?
Hello, I love chatting with you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Me too. And before we dive in everything, what Liz has to share with us, I'm going to share your bio, okay?
Yep.
All right, so Liz is a mom of two boys. Is a six-figure business owner for the last 15 years. Liz runs her event management from home. Yes, while homeschooling her two boys. Liz learned that with the right systems and community, you can thrive amidst the messiness. Join Liz on her journey and messiness from home while navigating the chaos of life, including her husband's health battles. A dreamer, a kind person with a big heart and a big soul, and as well, a hustler in this life. Here we are. We have Liz Caruso. All right, Liz, let's dive in this podcast for Work Life for Badasses.
I love it. I love it.
Let's get started.
Sure.
You want to start started? Because I'm looking forward to diving in your story. So would you like to share with us who is Liz Caruso and from where you get started in this amazing journey that you've been since, before I met you, right? So let me share with you, like listeners, that I met Liz 6 years ago, 2018, right? So 2018 in my first ever event of entrepreneurship. And I met this woman who was running the show, all right? Running the show. She was like the boss, right? Running the show. And the Seth Godin was the main guest. It was from an event in New York City from Ramon Ray. And here you are. It's like, oh my God, look at that badass there. And we had the opportunity to meet, and still we have this amazing relationship. So I am so honored to have you here. But I would love you to share your story here with our listeners.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I remember that time with Ramon. He always throws the best events. He's one of our clients.
Yes.
And so my journey started as an event planner working for Columbia University, an organization in the city, in New York City. And I kind of knew pretty quickly that I wanted to start my own business and do my own thing. I'm not great at sitting at a desk. I'm super efficient, very much like I don't like to waste time. Anyway, I knew it wasn't for me to sit at a desk. So I started a Twitter account and a blog. This was back in 2009. And the Twitter account was Liz King Events, which was my name at the time. And I was just learning. I was like, let me just see what this events industry is about. I was fresh out of college. I was like a year out of college. And so what ended up happening is I was just like writing blogs about things that I was learning. And then I started getting client inquiries from people who were like, hey, can you plan my event? And I would say, well, no, it's not a company. I can't do that. I would just refer them until I decided maybe I'll make a company out of it. So I got a mentor, which I think is a really important component, and just started learning. And so I started taking like a few clients here and there. And eventually in 2013, I went out and did it fully on my own. And I love it. So it's event management. But then you and I met in 2018. 2019, I started shifting my business. I do event planning, and I also have a community for event planners around event technology, but I wanted to kind of go higher level. And so I started doing more of the coaching, business consulting, that type of thing. And then 2019, I had my first baby. And 3 months later, the world like collapsed with pandemic. And, one of the industries that was dramatically impacted was the events industry.
Yeah.
I had been talking in my conference for event planners with technology about virtual and hybrid events for almost 10 years at that point. So
Mm.
I became like incredibly busy. Everyone was like, what do we do with virtual? Oh my gosh, what is that thing you've been talking about? So we
Yeah.
were so busy. But at the same time, behind the scenes, what a lot of people didn't realize is that I had this newborn baby that I was just figuring out
Oh,
what to
yeah.
do. And my husband at that point was getting just really sick. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. We
Yeah.
eventually, fast forward, we had a second baby. And then in 2023, so last year, we discovered that my husband has Crohn's disease. And it had progressed pretty badly. So he ended up having two major surgeries. He's so much better now.
Okay.
Medicine is amazing. But I
Yeah.
kind of looked back about last year. I started looking at my life and realizing that like I had just survived like complete chaos. And yet I really did it with, there was still a lot of joy. I loved being home with my kids. I loved having the flexibility to work on my business. I loved being able like to support. My husband was in the hospital the first time for 2 weeks and we were traveling to New York City. We're 2 hours out of the city. I was going there every day to visit him and being home with the kids. And I was just thinking like, I don't know how people do regular life without having the flexibility of a business. But I really don't know how they do it when the hard times hit, which is inevitable. We all have these messy periods of life. And so that was the impetus for my new company, HappyMess, which is really a platform to connect and empower other entrepreneurial moms. The idea that like I just see moms all the time who are they love what they do, but they're stuck like as a slave to their own business, barely making enough money, or they're working really hard on their business and their kids are sitting right there, but they're on their phones all the time trying to get the work done and they
Yeah.
not enjoying the benefits because they don't have the right systems. And I think I'm such a
Yeah.
systems person, efficiency craze that, that's what I want to share with people is like, how can we do this better? How can you make more money? How can you have better systems and simplify your life? But also at the same time, knowing that even the best case of that looks so messy. I know you talk about work-life balance,
Yeah.
like one of those funny phrases. I know you know that. It's never so clean. And so
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of my journey. I'm still doing the event planning. That's, my business.
Yeah.
But and I'm homeschooling my oldest now. And so it's a fun balance. And I just think there's so much more to life if you can think outside the box. If you just like don't put limits around what you're
Mhm.
capable of and the lifestyle that you want. If you let yourself dream, I mean, we live, at least, here in America, there's so many opportunities, there's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you can chase that dream.
Yes. Yes. And I remember like when I met you was like my first step into like looking the
Yeah.
world of a community of entrepreneurs and like, oh my God. Yes. And I remember comment that like this is the world of opportunities here. Like very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Yeah, but like that comes to the question, which is in your website, Happy Mess. And if you go there, click on know more about Liz. You has this like, what does it look like? This is your question, and I would love that you share with us here as well. What does it look like to run a multiple six-figure business while staying home full time with your two boys and starting the homeschool process? I was very curious to hear from you, from your words, answering this question, which is in your website.
So I think the key to doing life the way that I do it, at least, is that you have to throw away any expectations of what it's supposed to be or what it's supposed to look like. So a lot of people say to me like, "Oh my God, you have a business. How would you possibly homeschool? How do you do that?"
Exactly. Hmm.
I think, well, the first big thing is that I don't replicate public school at home. I don't sit him
Okay.
down at a table for 6 hours and do activity after activity and worksheet after work. I think about what is the core of what he needs to learn and how does he best learn that? And, I have two very active boys. They don't want to be sitting at a desk. They want to be outside. They want to be doing things with their hands. And so realizing that like in public school, you don't actually need to be there for 6 a day. A
Yeah.
lot of that is redirecting and quite honestly, keeping kids there because parents are working, so they have to be gone for a certain number of hours.
Yeah.
And so we really like probably max an hour of dedicated activity time. And granted, he's little, so he's in kindergarten. But then so many activities and fun things that we get to do out and about, community building kind of stuff. So that is one thing. It's just rethinking. That doesn't have to look like that. And then the
Mm-hmm.
same on the business side. We don't have to sit at a desk from 9 to 5. If you have the right systems and the right teams, things can happen so much faster. I work all the time in the evenings when my kids go to bed, on the weekends, but there are days where like from morning until the kids, like from when they wake up to when they go to bed, I'm not doing any work at all. But then I
Yeah.
might choose to work for 2 or 3 hours in the evening. And that is the flexibility that we have. So I think it's, if you're trying to run a business where you sit at a desk from 9 to 5 and you're trying to keep your kids home and they're supposed to be educated for 6 hours a day, that is what's impossible. But when you start to realize that the boundaries don't actually exist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden everything is much more possible.
Wow. I love that. I love that. But I'm curious. So, do you have like a role model around you to make that decision that you want to homeschool your boys while you have a business to run? And it was how did this come up, like this decision?
Okay, so I think my parents played a big role in
Okay.
the entrepreneurial life. My dad was actually a pastor, and my mom was
Mm,
mostly a stay-at-home mom. And
okay.
so I think I got a lot of family values from them, and also this idea that you don't have to be sitting at a desk all day. His work was mostly on the weekends, and he got to be home with us a lot during the week because he was doing sermon preparation and church stuff. And the other piece of that I think really fed down into who I am is the community. Like in a church,
Mm-hmm.
you're like constantly around other church people and they're all in our home all the time. We were in their homes all the time. And so those
Oh.
are two things that I think impacted my idea of like, I don't have to sit at a desk and there's so many
Mm-hmm.
more opportunities. And also this core belief that like we are better when we're connected to each other and that family is really, really important. The
Okay.
homeschooling thing for me has come up and I don't want to get into too much detail, but I just feel like our world is a little oversaturated, too busy, too many activities, too many things, like the idea of it's again like my efficiency. I think that brain is just wired to say like, okay, so what do you do for 6 or 7 hours in a school? Okay. Could it be done in an hour? Yes. Well, then why are we doing it? There's just that
Yes.
part of me that's
Yes.
like, why?
Yes.
And I think that like challenging the status is just who I am as a person. So homeschooling for me is a hard decision that I made because I'm not an educator. I don't feel prepared to do that. I don't feel like I'm like called to be a teacher. But for me, it was more of a decision around who I want my children to be, the flexibility I want them to have. Um, and just feeling like that's the best environment to nurture it at this stage. I'm not someone who's saying we're going to homeschool for the rest of our life. Maybe I do think when they're teenagers, when they want to be more socially focused, which
Mm-hmm.
granted, we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
social interaction, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when that's really a focus of theirs, maybe they will go to a different type of school. Right now, we're actually doing hybrid homeschool. So they homeschool for the core subjects, but he goes to a local private school every day for half an hour for all the specials, like gym and music and
Ah.
nature journaling, which to me is like crazy that the kids who are there all day only do 30 minutes of these kinds of things every day. But for him, it's great. He sees the kids every day, the same kids in the same class.
Mm-hmm.
So he's assigned a teacher in a class. And he's seeing them every day in addition to all the other activities that he does. Um, but yeah, so it's not like, oh, I want to be a teacher. It's just more like, this is how I want my children to be raised. And so I guess I'm going to have to figure that out.
I love it. I love the decision making, and then you stick to it, and then figuring out without having being like, oh, I don't know how am I going to do this for in 5 years or I know. Now this is how it works. I'm deciding this right now, and that goes to the execution mode. I always like, okay, when you make a decision, and then you go to after the execution. So, okay, this one is working. So, what can I improve, right? So, this is really interesting, including how to decide the education of our children. So, and that's really a great message. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
But I want to get like this visionary because I always see you like as a visionary, right? And if you think through about like in terms of your business event manager, so in management, right? So if you think about that, you said something, and I knew that. That's why I'm bringing this up. Um, the virtual part. You said like
Yeah.
when COVID hit, I was already providing hybrid and the virtual type of event. So you were ahead of the game, right? So true with COVID, like the events industry just break down because everything was shut down. But
Yeah.
I remember you being very busy, and I attended as well to
Yes.
your conferences and things that you were running. And it's like, oh my God, this works, right? Actually, it's more convenient. For instance, for me, I live in New Jersey, traveling to New York City every time. So actually, it was more convenient. I had access easier, right? So tell us, like, how was that decision coming? I'm curious about that, how you build that vision, right? So I know you like to, question the status quo, but tell us more about that. I'm very curious.
I think one of the things that I think I have as like a gift, one of the things that's unique about me is that I'm very attuned to like how people are feeling, what they're thinking, what's important to them. And it helps me pick up on like shifts in the world, I think faster. Um, I don't know exactly how it works. I wish I could like replicate it and make it. But for example, it's just in conversations, right? That I have seen an evolution in even how moms talk about the pressure that they feel, the work-life balance. Like in the events world, that's what I was feeling in 2009. Mobile
Mm,
apps, I'm like hearing this comes out and this technology is coming out and this technology. And I'm talking to planners who are saying, oh my God, that's scary. I don't know. That's too, what about privacy? And what do we do about that? And I already have enough to do. I can't learn that. So I'm feeling the pressure, but I'm seeing the change. And so we designed an event to feel it out. So our first event was just 10 tech companies and a bunch of event planners. It was all free. And it was like, you each get, the format was 4 minutes to tell us about what you do as a company, just so the planners could learn. And then there was open networking. And it was so successful that I started to see like, okay, there's a huge need here to connect these two groups. So we turned it into a full day conference and we started charging full day tickets and getting sponsorships. And so the other thing I started to see is like, wow, this is an entire revenue stream that I'm in control of. I decide if I want to make this conference huge. I mean, we turned that into a 6-figure conference. So that's 6 figures of revenue coming in that I didn't have to go get a client to pay me and write the contract and trust that they were the right client. So I started to also see the power of just making your own revenue. Like you don't have to wait until someone hires you. You could take advantage of that yourself. So that's
yeah.
kind of, again, I feel that like the shifts in my friends and family, the
Uh-huh.
conversations we're having, and I'm pairing that with like the demands of what's happening in the world and things that I
Uh-huh.
see. And so then you have to, again, make that decision. Like, I think this is where the world is going. I was just talking to someone else about this
Yes.
today. I think the world in this case, I think it's going to swing to like people want more simplicity. They want more local community, which I think impacts the events world as well as our personal lives. They want
Yeah.
less technology and less. And so I'm making the bet on that. I'm kind of saying like,
Cool.
this is where I think it's going. And now I've got to make that decision. And that's how I'm going to shift my businesses and things. And for the first few years of that event tech wave, and I think for the first few years of this HappyMess wave, you're kind of the crazy one. Everyone's like, okay, good luck to you, and then it hits. And I hope that that will be the case again. But then, yeah, when the pandemic hit and everyone was like, literally, I felt like everyone was like,
Yes.
for years
Yes.
ignoring me. You're crazy, you're crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you're crazy. 2019, I decided we're not doing this event anymore. I'm done. Like I'm tired of saying the same thing and no one wants to
Mm-hmm.
change. So I'd done it for 10 years. The next year, COVID hit, and all of a sudden it felt like people were like, wait, what were you talking about?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so it brought
I
back up. And that
remember.
was actually our most profitable year, was a only virtual event
I
that
remember.
we
Yeah.
pivoted and had relaunched. We said we were ending it, but 2 years later we relaunched it and it was the most money we made on that event and the most interest finally. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Because I remember that.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
know.
met you before COVID, right? I
Yeah.
remember, and you were running the show. I was like, okay, this should be something here because everybody's figuring it out, and you are giving solutions. Really, you were giving the
Trying.
solutions
I was
itself,
trying.
right? So
Yeah.
amazing. But now coming to the now, right? In a different chapter, in a different season of your life with two children, and like different season,
Totally
chapter.
different. Yeah,
I would call season, right?
it is.
So you are pivoting again, right?
Mhm.
Do you want to share more about these badass move that you are doing and investing now your time? You talk about HappyMess, I know, but share us more about that vision and decisions that you are making.
Yeah, I just want to create like what I need. That's how I am. Like if I think that's what made me an event planner. If I want to learn about balancing a business and children, then I launch a community or a conference or something to learn about it. And I think I talk to so many entrepreneurs who they come up with the idea and they almost like discredit it before they start because they think they're not the expert. They don't
Mm,
have enough experience. They don't. And I really encourage people to not worry about that and don't position yourself. Don't lie. Don't go out there and say, I'm the
yeah.
queen of balancing these things. Instead, you go out and you say, I know there's a need to learn more about this, and you have it,
Okay.
and I have it. So let's do it together. And it's an opportunity to make a business and to make some money and to help other people, most importantly. And so that's kind of like where I'm at is okay, I've been doing it. I realize there's some success to it. Like I somehow still have a business after everything we've been through for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, what pieces of what I'm doing are successful that I can share to help other people? And then what pieces of what I'm doing need changing? I need to learn, and I'm constantly like reading new books and talking to new people, and having a community is one best way to get, it's like
Okay.
crowdsourcing for all your problems. And so I want to make sure I can offer some solutions. It's not just like self-serving, obviously, but that's really where I'm at, is just like, again, feeling like women have felt this work-life balance pressure for so long. We went from
Yeah.
like, and I mean, if you think about it, pretty much within my lifetime, many moms went from like mostly being home to mostly being out of the home the majority of
Yes.
the time. And granted, other things have come in, like technology has proliferated our country, our entire
Yeah.
world. Um, but I feel like I see the decline in the quality of our families and therefore our society. I think kids are just like being raised on TikTok and YouTube shorts.
Oh,
Their
yes.
behavior acts like that.
Yes. And
And
the language they use, like, where this
parents,
word come from?
yeah,
Or,
yeah. I mean, oh my
this.
gosh. And I think parents are just exhausted and stressed out. I really believe that women are the heart of the home. I don't believe you have to be in it all the time. I think some people really love working 9 to 5, and I think that's great. Not everyone needs to be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. But
Mm-hmm.
what I do think is that even in the corporate world, there has to be more flexibility, because I think the woman needs to be in the home. You need to be with your children for like extended number of hours. So if you're going to be working from, 8 to 6 by the time you get to work and get back, then from 6 until your kids go to bed, you can't then be going to like 70 activities, rushing them around to this and that. You're not spending any time with your children. You're not spending any time in your home. And I think that women feel that pressure.
Yeah.
They're constantly feeling like, I wish I could spend more time. I wish I could like clean my house. I wish I could decorate for Christmas. And they don't have the time. And the only way that's going to happen is either the companies, corporations have to give more flexibility, or you're going to burn out our entire society. Or, my solution is you work from home, you do your own business, even if, again, you have your own office, having
Yeah.
your own business gives you a lot more flexibility. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just think that like our whole world needs women to be more involved. And
Yeah.
it can't happen with the society that we live in, the pressures and the nonstop world, that culture, just like it's not sustainable. And we've pushed it so far in just a few decades, and it's
Yeah.
it's hit burnout really fast.
It's true.
Think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I was looking to Gallup, right? So research for 2023, there was an increase of 15%, because I thought, it was understandable for me from 2022, because it was already also like, I think that it was 25, something around this 20s, right? And I thought this one would decrease because after it's post-COVID. It was my assumption. So it was very interesting,
Sure.
this study. It's a study for North America, US, sorry. So US. And there was this like still increase, like a little bit lower, but increase the burnout. And burnout means, okay, so what is this burnout? Burnout means when okay, so how does it is, because I'm sure there's other ones, and perhaps with the stats will be different, but this one is the percentage of absence because they are stressed and the doctor said you need to stay home. That's where it comes, right? So it was an increase 15% from 2023 burnout. Consider that you need to go home and rest and be recovered. Like that's what I'm talking about. That was like blown away. Still, this is increasing, right? Is still is there, right? So a lot. So I feel this has a good niche. So you are serving business owners that want to work from home and have the resources to do it.
And who want to live like a life, whether that means that your kids are home with you. I'm not, again, I don't think every family needs to homeschool, but even if your kids are in school all day, it's about the balance. It's like, can you travel? Can you leave your business? If something were to happen to you, is someone going to step in, or is everything going to fall apart? I think too many women business owners, it's like if they disappeared, their family would not function financially, physically, mentally. There's not enough systems in place to make it successful. And again, they're not really like enjoying it because they're just too stressed out and working too much. So it's around the systems in your personal life and in the business that give you the backup that you need, that give you the freedom to live a life that is enjoyable to you.
Yes.
And defining that and feeling
I'm a
like,
member already. So everybody listening,
yes,
I'm
you
already
are.
a member.
Thank you.
All right. Liz, so can you describe us a moment in life? I'm very curious about this one, where you felt especially proud of yourself and your achievement.
Ooh, that's a great question. And even as you say that, I think we don't take enough time to think about those things.
I know.
I think it's like small moments for me. I think that a lot of time we trudge through life, you're just doing your thing and you're not really thinking about it. But I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine after my husband had his surgery. So it was kind of like coming out of this intense few years of babies and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, if you think about it, if you just like look back and think, like, you've accomplished so much in the last 5 years, given everything that you've been through. And I remember at that moment taking a second to look and be like, actually, it's kind of a miracle that my business didn't just disappear. I didn't have to shut it down, or, that I've actually if we've been on vacations that we enjoy. If you think about like how sick my husband really was, I look back and think like, I don't really know how we did like I had an event in Nashville. So we drove the kids 17 hours and made all these stops. We made it into super fun trip. We stopped at zoos and, all kinds of places, all the way there and all the way back. We were there and my husband was so sick the entire time.
Oh my God.
And then he was watching the kids while I had my event. And it was just like, looking back, I realized like, how the heck did we do that trip? That was crazy. But then I realized it's because of, first of all, support. I had a good team, so I wasn't doing the event all by myself, and we had good family members, so we had lots of support. And then also the systems, there's just certain things that there were times in that trip actually when we look back where he just couldn't watch the kids. So I had to step in, and then systems had to do their thing so that things weren't falling apart while I was stepping in. And then I realized like, wow, it's amazing actually the things you're not thinking about that you also just trudge through. And I can say it wasn't that enjoyable all the time. So that I realized, that was something you're like, wow, we did it. We made it.
You did. Yes. Because I do travel as well. We love road trips. And I know. All right. Yeah. This summer we went to North Carolina, right? It's like, right. So and it was less than that.
But it's still road trips, like even short ones, are intense with little children.
It is a good test. I think that's really a badass moment. Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Thank you. Okay, so and now because this is the work life for badasses, I'm sure our listeners want to hear from you about the strategies or habits you develop to maintain your crazy happy mess that you develop homeschooling and having your business. So, and especially I'm sure that you have high stress moments as well, right? So within the
Yeah.
event management type of business, I'm sure. So any type that strategies or habits that you have developed that work for you, you want to share here with us?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised every year, but pretty much every year, event management makes the list of top 5 most stressful jobs out of all the jobs, which I
Oh,
feel
wow.
like
Okay, I didn't know that.
surely,
Okay,
surely
okay.
there must be more stressful, but I mean, we're definitely a stressful
But
industry.
yeah, makes sense.
So some of the big key things that have worked for me, first of all, are defining the right kind of clients. I'm done working with clients who are like, hey, do you want to partner on something and grow? Nope, I don't have time for that. It's like
Yeah.
you have a vision, you have an established audience, you have a budget, you have a plan. Those are the ideal clients. And then, of course, it's the type of people. Like I've learned I'm not someone who's good at working with micromanagers. I want you to trust that I know what I'm doing. I will give you all the reports and whatever, but like I don't want to be
Yeah.
micromanaged. Right clients, right kind of projects. That's one big thing. And then the right support, the right team, people who I know are going to deliver, they're going to go above and
Yeah.
beyond. They're going to be there for me in an issue. That's a piece. Really claiming my time. It was about a year ago that I was so tired of just like being on a phone call and trying to get my kids to be quiet the whole time in the background. And
Mm,
they're never. My kids are still young and it doesn't matter how many times I'm like, I'm on a call. I need you to be quiet. They don't care. So I just started putting like really strict boundaries around my time. So we got a babysitter who comes 2 days a week for 5 hours each day.
okay.
And it's only during those times that I set up calls. That's it. If it's not during those times, I just say no. And to make that happen, I had to shorten every single call. So most calls are a standard hour. Not in my world. They're standard 15 minutes. And then if you need more, we can schedule another one or we can always add
I
on if
love
oh
that.
it's going to take longer. Or you can take it with someone else on my team. That was a big one. Like just removing which required
Delegating, right?
to
Oh, I love
have better like reporting systems so that they can log into our tracker and see where we're at any point. I mean, like there are some things I had to do so that the calls are not so long, really good like agendas and things like that so we can get through what we're trying to do,
that. Hmm.
identifying who's on the call. A lot of times there's
Hmm.
just too many people. So calls for me was like a big stress point. And then I had to say, like, okay, so less of them, more structured, more specific timing, more backup so that I can like actually do them in peace, which is more fair to my children and to myself and my clients.
Yes. Yes.
So those are some of them. And then the other piece I think is just on the personal side, more, and you and I talked about this last week, actually, just like what really matters. Saying no to
Hmm.
the birthday parties that just they don't fit,
Hmm.
or the activities. Like we're lucky because we get to do more activities because my kids are not in school all day, so we have a lot more time. And it's not like they're in school for 6 hours, then they go do activities for 3 hours.
Hmm.
So we can do a lot of activities throughout the week without it feeling like we're out of our house all the time. Um, but just being mindful about that, like my kid, like this year, one of them wanted to do soccer and t-ball. It doesn't really fit, and like to do it, we have to be
Hmm.
two separate cars in two different places. And so we paid for one and then we decided, you know what, we're just not going to do it. We can, why, and I,
Yes. That's a
that
great one.
simplicity throughout every aspect of your life. Do I need all these things in my house? Like I've just been like selling everything in my house. Like, and I realized the less toys, the less mess, the less cleaning time, the less kitchen stuff, the less mess, less cleaning. So like streamlining everything, I think is really key. The less you have to manage, the easier it is to manage it.
Yes, I I love it so much. Simplicity is the word, right? And also
Yeah.
having the guts to choose your clients. I think that's a big one as well, right? In terms of work, really be mindful about your decisions. Who are you working with, especially if you're an entrepreneur, and your boundaries and simplicity. I love it. And I want to share this here because last weekend, it was the town garage sale. So
Okay.
like this is
Yeah.
common, right? So and my husband like, we go and let's go and pick up like no, I'm not even going. Thinking about what you're saying,
Yeah.
simplicity. What am I going to buy? Because it's cheap. No, all right, I don't need anything. I need the other way around. Actually, I need to
Be the one
simplify.
selling. Yeah.
But I didn't have time to do that. So no, I was very good. No, saying no to garage
Good
sale
for
because it's
you.
very tempting, right? It's
It
actually a
is.
bit social, but it's like no to garage sale just
Good for
because,
you. Good for
right?
you.
That could be fitting in your simplicity method type of mindset. That's a good one. I like
My
it.
favorite is, are you part of your local Buy Nothing group? It's a
No.
group
Oh
of,
yes, the free stuff. Is the free
yeah.
stuff? Yes,
And
yes, we have
so
it.
I try at least once a week to go around my house and just say like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Anyone want it? I just put it in the Buy Nothing group and I put it on my front
Yes.
porch and they come and get it. And that
Okay.
was another thing is like, I think, people want to sell everything and you want to get back. Like I spent $90 for this. I don't want to give it away for 10 or for free.
True.
But you know what?
True.
That's the hard lesson. You already wasted your money on it. Don't really
Yes.
need it. So just get it out. That was painful in the beginning, but the more I do it, the more I'm like, and get rid of this. And how about this? Someone will want this candle and someone will want this thing.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, I love that. That's a good one. And it's hard. If you think through about like in terms of habits,
It's
it's
hard.
something that we need to practice and be aware to really act on that direction. So it's a
Yeah.
good one. All right. So we are ending this podcast. I have a last question. All right. So, and now because we are talking to badasses who are listening to us here at AnnaJoTalks Work Life for Badasses, I would love to hear from you. From badass to badass, what is your main advice to our listeners?
Well, I guess we've talked about it today, but I would say the main advice is to focus on your values. Who do you really want to be? What kind of life do you really want to live? What is
Mm,
important to you in your family and personally? And then to simplify around that. If it doesn't fit
mhm.
values, it's got to go. And that comes with the courage, which is a very difficult thing. I'm a pretty strong personality, but I have a lot of difficulty around it to say, I know everyone else is doing that, but we're just not. Or I know, phones being one of those big ones. I know everyone else has phones. You're not getting one, It's just,
Yes.
I know
Yeah.
everyone else is doing these activities. We're not doing that
Yeah.
because it's only in doing that that you will have the time to do the stuff that really matters. Like, when was the last time you called your three best friends and actually had a real conversation?
Yeah.
Probably been a very long time. It's really common these days to just wait months and send each other a text like, hey, how you doing? So what we're doing is prioritizing the junk because other people feel like we need to do it. And we're compromising the stuff that really makes us feel alive and really is actually what we value. And so I think my biggest advice is we have to do the hard things to stop doing that, or
Mm,
we're going to live in a society that doesn't represent who we want to be. It's not enjoyable. And, that's not the world any of us want our kids to grow up in, I don't think. But it's not going to change if we don't actively make the change ourselves.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you so much. All
Thank
right.
you.
Are you ready for the 5 rapid fire questions?
I'm ready.
Woo, let's go. Liz Caruso in the house for the rapid fire questions. Here we go. What is your favorite superhero?
Thor, because he's very technology. Oh, Iron Man. Iron Man is his name, not Thor. Iron Man. He's the one who like creates all the gadgets and solves all the world's problems by using his brains.
It matches. I love it. What is your favorite place?
Ooh. Um, Vermont.
Mhm.
Beautiful, quiet, usually cooler than New York.
Okay. Okay. Summer and winter, both? Yeah.
I like it in the fall where it's just
Mm,
like, it's cool. You're around the fire. It's quiet. You
nice.
do family stuff. So that's a special place for me.
What is your favorite music?
I like a lot of like singer-songwriter. Tyrone Wells is one of my favorites. Brett Young, people who write about like love and nice chill music you'd put on when you have like guests over.
I did know that. So cool. Favorite book?
Oh, I'm obsessed right now with Who Not How, which is just like a
Oh my God. Yes.
book.
Ben Hardy and Dan
Very,
Sullivan.
very good
All right.
book.
I'm all about them. No.
I am a business book junkie. I don't read,
Me too.
anything that's like for fun.
I think those are
Actually,
fun.
no, but
There's a lot
really,
of stories. Yeah.
a really good recommendation based on what we're talking about, though, is a very good book called Hold On to Your Kids, which I think is
Oh, I
life-changing.
didn't know that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Last one. Favorite dessert.
Ice cream, for sure. Chocolate peanut butter ice cream. I'm not like a cake sweets person, but ice cream, I'll always say yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So, Liz, before we go, tell us about where we can find you, where our listeners can be in touch with you, and if you have something to promote, right? So please do share.
Thank you. Thanks for that opportunity. YourHappyMess.com is all this stuff that we've been talking about here with moms and business owners. TexiTalk.com, which hopefully we can put the link because I know that's hard to spell. TexiTalk.com is our event planning and event resources for other event planners. So if you have like a corporate event or a retreat or something that you're doing, that's a resource as well. But Your Happy Mess is really, I think, what we're talking about here. And yeah, I would love to connect with as many people as possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to have you here at our AnnaJoTalks Work Life for Badasses. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. And all in the show notes will be how you can connect with Liz. All right, thank you.
So
And now, thank you for tuning in to AnnaJoTalks Work Life for Badasses. I hope today's episode has inspired you to live life on your own terms. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you can do hard things. See ya.
You've been listening to AnnaJoTalks, Work Life for Badasses, with your host, Coach AnnaJo. To learn more about Coach AnnaJo, her blogs, and her coaching programs on how to achieve the work-life harmony you deserve, head on over to AnnaJoTalks.com. Make sure to follow Coach AnnaJo at Coach AnnaJo on all social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe and listen to all of the AnnaJoTalks episodes on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. AnnaJoTalks, Work Life for Badasses was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.